Here we have a meme featuring an account named Henry Ford asking, "What is the meaning of life?" The image shows Homer Simpson holding a note that reads, "Always do the opposite of what Jews say." I doubt that those who share or agree with this meme actually take it as an absolute rule. Surely they understand that it's impossible to literally do the opposite of what Jews say, if for no other reason than that Jews disagree with each other on virtually everything. You can't do the opposite of a group that holds a wide range of conflicting views. Trying to do so would lead to contradictions. Still, the meme sends a clear message that Jews are untrustworthy, manipulative, or dangerous, and that disregarding them leads to a better outcome. It is essentially a warning. Don't listen to Jews, or you will suffer. This reflects a recurring theme in anti-Semitic literature, the idea that Jews are schemers who seek to cause harm, that they are liars, that they conceal the truth, hate the truth, or even feel pain when they hear it. These tropes appear in many sources, including parts of the New Testament, the Quran, and especially far-right literature. But in reality, Judaism has a long-standing tradition of valuing truth as one of its highest ideals. Interestingly, anti-Semites often try to cite the Talmud to show that Jews follow immoral teachings. So why can't I use the same Talmud to show the opposite, that truth is central to Judaism? If they want to be consistent in methodology, they should accept this as well. First of all, the Talmud Shabbat 55a says, Rabbi Hanina said, "The seal of the Holy One, blessed be He, is truth, emet." The Jerusalem Talmud further states, there, we stated, Rabban Simeon ben Gamliel says, "The world is existing on three things, on justice, on truth, and on peace. All three are one. If justice is done, truth is accomplished. If truth is accomplished, peace is established." Rebbe Mana said, "And all are in one verse. Judge truth and law of peace in your gates." Sota 42a says, Rabbi Yirmeiah bar Abba says, "Four classes of people will not greet the divine presence, the class of cynics, and the class of flatterers, and the class of liars, and the class of slanderers." The proof for this statement is as follows. The class of cynics, as it is written, "He draws his hand from cynics," Hosea 7:5, i.e., God does not want to be in their presence. The class of flatterers, as it is written, that a flatterer cannot come before him, Job 13:16. The class of liars, as it is written, "He who speaks falsehood shall not dwell before my eyes," Psalms 101:7. The class of slanderers will not greet the divine presence, as it is written, "For you are not a God who has pleasure in wickedness, evil shall not sojourn with you," Psalms 5:5, which means, "You, the Lord, are righteous, and evil shall not dwell with you in your dwelling place." Evil here is referring to slanderers, as is evident from the continuation of the chapter, which states, "For there is no sincerity in their mouth. Their inward part is a yawning gulf. Their throat is an open tomb. They make smooth their tongue." Psalms 5:10. There are many more sources like these, and I will share additional examples in future videos, but the main point is already clear. Judaism condemns lying. Of course, like most moral systems, Judaism allows for lying in specific cases, such as to save a life. But as a general rule, lying is prohibited. And yes, this applies even to non-Jews. Despite what some liars claim, Judaism does not permit deceiving non-Jews. As it says in Talmud Hulin 94a, "And if you wish, say that there is an entirely different reason why one may not send a Gentile a cut-up thigh without removing the sciatic nerve, because he thereby deceives the Gentile. The Gentile will think that the Jew has exerted himself to cut up the leg and remove the sciatic nerve, and that although the Jew could have eaten the meat himself, he decided to send it to the Gentile. The Gentile will therefore be more appreciative of the gift than he would be if he realized that the sciatic nerve had not been removed." This is as Shmuel said, "It is prohibited to deceive people, and even to deceive a Gentile." But we all know that this kind of reasoning is flawed. Just because an idea appears in the Talmud or other Jewish literature doesn't mean that Jews actually follow it in practice. In reality, most Jews do not study the Talmud seriously at all. Like people from any group, most Jews are just regular individuals who live as ethically or unethically as the broader population. Personally, I'm not convinced that Jews lie more than other groups. I'd actually be very interested to see hard data on this question, to see which groups, if any, are more prone to lying. But I haven't found any such data. Because of that, I can't prove that Jews lie more than others, and I can't prove that they lie less either, and neither can anyone else. So when someone implies that Jews lie the most, they're not basing it on real evidence. They're just exposing their own hatred. If credible data did come out showing that Jews lie more than others, I would simply acknowledge that we have a problem, and then I'd want to work on fixing it. I'd spend more time studying and teaching about truthfulness, promoting honesty, and discouraging deception. I would make an effort to solve the problem, not deny it. But what I've found in the data so far is that most lying is done by a small minority of people, not the average person. For example, in a 2019 study titled Lie Prevalence, Lie Characteristics and Strategies of Self-Reported Good Liars, researchers wrote, "First, we investigated the relationship between liars' self-reported lie-telling frequency and self-reported deception ability. The most widely cited research on deception prevalence estimates the frequency at an average of once or twice per day. More recent research, however, shows that the distribution of lies per day is considerably skewed. The majority of lies are told by only a handful of prolific liars. Specifically, in a survey of nearly 3,000 participants, researchers found that 5% of respondents accounted for over 50% of all the lies reported within the past 24 hours, whereas the majority of subjects reported telling no lies at all. Several additional studies, as well as a reanalysis of DePaulo et al.'s diary study, have validated that the majority of lies are told by a minority of people. These few prolific liars tend to tell more serious lies that carry significant consequences if detected. Also, people who self-reported to lie more often were more prone to cheating in laboratory tasks for personal profit. It is possible that these prolific liars also perceive themselves as more skilled at deceiving and tell more lies that they think will stay undetected, either because they believe the receiver will not try to find out, or they believe they are good enough to fool the receiver. So, if this is the case, it likely applies to most populations. A minority of individuals commit the majority of the deception. This further supports the point that it makes no sense to stereotype an entire group and reject anything they say just because of their ethnicity or religion. That doesn't mean we should blindly accept what anyone says either. You don't have to believe someone just because they're Jewish, or because they're anything else. Healthy skepticism is good. You should critically evaluate everyone, regardless of background. But maybe this meme isn't just about lying. Maybe it's implying that Jews are simply wrong, that they've historically made bad judgments and shouldn't be listened to for that reason. But then I have to ask, which group doesn't have a track record of being wrong? Throughout history, virtually every civilization has done things that we now consider deeply immoral or foolish, including kidnapping and enslaving people, castrating slaves, child marriage, wife beating, burning heretics, forced religious conversions, human sacrifice. The history of humanity is, in many ways, a record of horrors. And yet, if we're honest, we can say that for much of the past 2,000 years, the Jewish people have behaved better than most groups. You might argue, that's only because Jews didn't have much power. But even now, with the power of a modern state, the state of Israel has become a light in the darkness. No matter how much the nations of the world slander Israel, it has done an extraordinary job, especially considering the relentless hostility it has faced since day one. And in the short time that Jews have been relatively free in the modern era, the contributions to science, medicine, and technology have been immense, and even the antisemites benefit from them. And let's be honest, nobody does the opposite of what Jews say when it comes to those contributions. You couldn't live without them. Your children couldn't prosper without them. And yet you still promote this dangerous nonsense that Jews, as a group, should not be listened to. There are good Jews, there are bad Jews, and there are average, mediocre Jews, just like every other group. So stop with this absurd idea that something should be dismissed just because a Jew said it. The notion that rejecting the Jews leads to prosperity is ridiculous. In fact, the most hostile nations to Jews, especially in parts of the Islamic world, are also among the most repressive, corrupt, and dysfunctional. If rejecting Jews really made a nation successful, we would expect the most anti-Semitic countries to be thriving. But they're not. And when they do finally put down their hatred, they will absolutely flourish in ways they never have before. I'll leave you with the words of Maimonides, who advocated accepting the truth from whatever source it came, whether Jewish or not. Know, however, that the ideas presented in these chapters and in the following commentary are not of my own invention. Neither did I think out the explanations contained therein, but I have gleaned them from the words of the wise occurring in the Midrashim, in the Talmud, and in other of their works, as well as from the words of the philosophers, ancient and recent, and also from the works of various authors, as one should accept the truth from whatever source it proceeds. Sometimes I may give a statement in full, word for word in the author's own language, but there is no harm in this, and it is not done with the intention of glorifying myself by presenting as my own something that was said by others before me, since I have just confessed my indebtedness to others, even though I do not say so-and-so said, which would necessitate useless prolixity. Sometimes, too, the mentioning of the name of the authority drawn upon might lead one who lacks insight to believe that the statement quoted is faulty and wrong in itself because he does not understand it. Therefore, I prefer not to mention the authority, for my intention is only to be of service to the reader and to elucidate for him the thoughts hidden in this tractate. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and become a member of the channel. Be well.